good morning to you. Happy Monday. I hope that you're in a good mood today and hashtag no Monday blues. I hope that you've had a restful weekend. Welcome to the show. This is Your World and my name is Winnie Lubembe. And of course today, let's talk menses, all right? And I'm about to say period. And of course we'll be talking about, menstrual health management and why it is important for all of us to have this conversation, because as we all know, May 28th, every year the world usually commemorates World Menstrual Hygiene Day. And of course this year the theme, is very, very important, all right? And of course I want us to really listen to the theme. So it says, making menstruation a normal fact of life by 2030. That was yesterday's theme, like I said, as the world marked, Menstrual Hygiene Day. So of course, we just want to understand, and especially from the people who are at the forefront, of championing for this, and this is as far as menstrual hygiene is concerned, really want to hear from them. What are some of the gaps that they have identified? And, why is it important, for all of us to hear from them? Because again, like we all know that menstrual health is a human rights issue, not just a health one, all right? And yet an estimated 500 million people lack access to menstrual products and adequate facilities for menstrual health, and this is according to UNFPA. And more than 50% of women and girls in Kenya cannot afford sanitary towels, although some statistics show more than 65%, so varied statistics over there. And of course, with some girls in primary school losing 18 learning weeks out of 108 weeks in a year during their menses. So this should not happen, and especially now in this day and age. So the question is it time that we change tactics when it comes to conversations and approaches on menstrual health? And of course, that forms a subject of, our conversation today and the question of the day, which is very, very simple. Is it time that we change tactics when it comes to conversations and approaches on menstrual health? Feel free to interact with us. You know the drill by now. At NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on Twitter is how you can reach us. There you have it. The question of the day on your screens. Is it time to change tactics when it comes to conversations and approaches on menstrual health? We look forward to hear what you have to say. And like I said, NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on Twitter, is how you can reach us. Remember to use the hashtag YourWorld. But at the same time, if you want to call in live, our lines are open. If you are, a champion out there who's really championing for, the whole conversation around menstrual health, maybe in your community, in your county, at the national level, and of course, you also want to share your sentiments with us this morning as far as what exactly is it core ground, all right? Because like I always say, core ground between is different, all right? So what exactly is the situation, in the area that you are representing, with the girls that you are interacting with? What exactly are they saying, and what is it that we need to do to make sure that we get to this reality that making menstruation a normal fact of life by 2030? So we're going to have, a lot to discuss on the conversation today, and of course, to help us with the same, we have in studio with me Bishop Grace Dalizu, who is a menstrual health champion, very passionately advocating for the same. So it's good to see you this morning, Grace. Karibu sana. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling very well.
Yeah.
And good.
Yeah.
No Monday blues.
No, we do not want Monday blues, at least for this week, right?
No
As we
Monday
say goodbye
blues.
to the month of May. Thank you so much for making time for us. So good to have you this morning.
Thank
We
you.
also have Neville Okwaro, who again is not so new to us. I'm pretty sure if you are on socials, you know this man, okay? And he is a menstrual, hygiene management lead at USAID, Western Kenya Sanitation Project. But above all, he's very passionate about menstrual hygiene and health. It's so good to have you and to see you this morning, Neville. How are you doing all the way from Kisumu, Dala?
Thank you so much. I'm okay.
Yeah.
And looking forward to today's discussion.
Absolutely. And of course, you were telling me earlier on, Kisumu is annoyingly hot. And as we're freezing here in Nairobi, it's interesting how different, being in the same country, but of course, different weathers. But it's so good to have you this morning. And I'm just going to start with you, on that, the theme for this year, and that is making menstruation a normal fact of life by 2030. What exactly does this statement mean to you, Neville?
So much. Maybe first and foremost is to just to correct something. From last year, we've been having a clarion call as we move towards 2030.
Okay.
We've been having this clarion call as we move towards 2030. That is making menstruation a normal fact of life So for the past 2 years, the theme has been "We are committed." So this year's theme is "We are committed," but the clarion call for the next number of years will be making menstruation a fact of life by 2030.
Okay.
And the reason why the clarion call was chosen is we are completely off track when it comes to matters of menstrual management.
Right.
And we are completely off track simply because we are not walking the talk. We are not putting resources where our mouth is. And this is just a reminder to not only government, but also practitioners to ensure that even as we look at matters of menstrual health management, then it's very critical that this topic does not end just by discussions, but rather how do we ensure that as we move forward, we are able to not only allocate resources, but also to ensure that matters of menstrual health and hygiene will be catered for, be it in policies, be it in community engagement and others, and also to ensure that matters of menstrual management will permeate up to the household level, because basically that is where the action is. How do you ensure that we have discussions at the household level?
Okay. All right. And of course, we'll just, before I come back to Grace, of course, you have been doing this for a very, very long time. And I know majority of the times when we talk about, anything to do with menstruation, menstrual health, menstrual hygiene, a lot of people will just shove it aside and say, issue anawake, right? But you have been doing this for quite a while. I'm just curious to understand, what are some of the challenges that maybe you have encountered in your journey as far as advocating for, this such a natural phenomenon that is usually approached by a lot of stigma and a lot of taboo, and the fact that you are a man who's championing for this right? How has it been for you?
It has not actually been easy. But one thing that I must say is I normally get support from unlikely quarters. And believe it or not, the greatest challenge that I've had is from, let me say, women and girls, because most of them look at a man championing matters of menstruation as one getting into their space. And in one way or another, it has not augured well with some. But maybe when you look at where I've come from, you will understand why I decided to champion this. For me, for a very long time, I knew menstruation was a sickness. And I want to imagine you've gone through primary school, secondary school, university education, but still you do not have that factual and pragmatic information on what menstruation is and how is it that it can be managed. And basically, you are living in misconceptions. And the first time I interacted with this topic, I was taken to a training and I almost backed out of that training. But also before the training, I remember I interacted with someone in one of the counties. I had just gone for a needs assessment survey. And one of the women used to pay school fee for some girls. So I had met her in one of the schools. And there's this girl that ran to her and hugged her. But immediately I noticed there are some leaves that had blood dropping from underneath her dress. At that time, I never took so much interest. But later on, looking back at some of the things that happened, and also that particular incident, I actually felt a bit stupid after the training. Simply because everything that I thought I knew about menstruation was actually a complete fallacy and a lie. And from that moment, for me, I've actually been trying to speak to men who have been in the same situation like me, because we have daughters, we have wives, we have mothers and others. And it's very important that even as we look at matters of menstrual management, we look at it from the paradigm. What if I'm a single parent with daughters and I'm supposed to speak about menstruation? Then what will I do? And also looking back, however much things have changed ever since the Beijing conference, but still we are living in a more patriarchal society where even it's the man who decides the budget for the home. So how do we get men involved in this discourse? And for me, that is why I got into this space.
Yeah. And of course, fighting for something has never been easy ever since. So really, we really must commend you for the good work that you're doing out there. And that is the reason, exactly why we also needed you in this conversation this morning, just to make sure that we're all involved, we're all at the table, and this is championing and fighting, for the same, so that we fight stigma and taboo as well. All right, so I'll come back to you, Neville, but let's speak to Bishop Grace. So again, just still the same question. That is, according to the theme, right? So Neville added, "We are committed," and that is the theme. But again, one that is in continuation with the making menstruation a normal fact of life by 2030. What exactly does the statement mean to you?
I want just to say thank you, Winnie, for having me.
Most welcome.
And I want to say that periods, because that's what many people call it, menstruation, should be made to be very, very normal, and people should discuss about it openly. I say that because I come from a background where I've been a teacher for many years. And I went to the first school in West Pokot County.
Where exactly? Because, okay.
Are you from there?
Yes.
Where?
I was born in West Pokot.
You?
Chepareria, yes.
Chepareria?
Yes.
That's your home?
Yes.
Wow. I was in Tartar Girls.
Okay, I see.
And I was a boarding mistress there. And I can tell you, there was so much taboo about menstruation. When a girl had the periods, or her periods, they would hide in the dormitory, stay in their rooms, in their cubicles. They are not showering. They don't want to talk about it. I don't know what had happened out there. But you know that community then, do you come from that community?
Okay,
it was male dominated.
Yes.
So some of the things are not spoken about openly.
Yeah.
So I would talk to them and I would be asking what is going on and what is happening. And you'd see that there's so much shame. There's so much shame right from the classroom to the dormitory. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk to us for, the pads and what have you. And many of them, I want to say this, did not have access to pads.
Is a very big
because
issue.
Even school fees was an issue. So you can imagine pads. So we did a lot of buying for them. Myself, I was a boarding mistress, and the caterers, and the female teachers who were in the, the teachers' quarters would do that. And it was such a burden. And I kept thinking, why is it so much a burden? And yet, these children, when they come to school, it is well known that they will need this. And that is what informed my commitment to what I would call menstrual needs that time, and hygiene. And from there now, it came into me, and I began to, when I came now back to Nairobi, when I came to Nairobi, I was dealing with the street families.
Okay.
And again, there is a need there. The street families struggle to have food.
True.
As opposed to having,
they have to
pads.
Make a decision, right?
Pads,
is it
pads are not a priority. So again, I started supplying the families in the street with sanitary towels. From there, I got into schools. Because there are schools where a parent will make, that, what do you call it? Opportunity cost. Between the pad and the school fees. So many of the girls have not had an access to sanitary pads or towels. And when you look at that, you find that now it makes them ashamed of the very, very,
such a natural phenomenon,
happening
right?
in their lives. They don't want to talk about it because there's no provision for it, there's no budgeting for it, and therefore they would rather keep quiet, and just let it go. But you can imagine a girl that is going to have menses every month for about 5 days, 6 days. How do they keep themselves clean? And as you know, blood smells a lot. So a child will remain on her desk the whole day for fear of going for break, going to the toilet, because if she stands, she don't
know what's going to happen.
And I was so much touched. I just want to mention this because I've heard of 2 or 3 girls that have committed suicide because of this. And therefore, I think we should make these periods very normal, that they will be discussed by everyone. And more so, the government should get into it in a very committed way, and also stakeholders.
Absolutely.
Like, for example, I'm a bishop in a church, and this Saturday, coming Saturday, I'm going to a girls' school. You know, mothers that are young, that have gone back to school. And that is one of the things on our budget, that we must get them sanitary towels, so that they don't miss school.
No, and I completely hear you, because majority of the times when we just talk about menses, when we talk about periods, most people would quickly shift to sanitary towels, and you know, as if that's the only thing that is needed during that time of the month. But forgetting there's so much that comes into it. There's the awareness part of the same. There's so many girls who are missing school because of the same, because they can't go to school, right? That want to stay home because some of the ways that they use, you know, or they have to employ during that time of the month, you know, will not allow them to go to school. Others would choose to just, like you're saying, sit down, you know, the entire day,
the whole day. Then I wanted to mention something about that. There's also the period pains that people have ignored. The cramps.
Not fun,
you know, I have 2 girls, young girls in the house, and when it is that time, you know, you have to have the pills that will ease the pain. And sometimes I feel very sad because I know so much drugs is getting into their system. Like, one of my girls is 16 years, and you can imagine her taking about painkillers, 2 of them every day for about 6 days. Those are 12 painkillers that she did not need. I was wondering, is there a way that medically this can be taken care of? That is what I was wondering about, because I was imagining if this medicine is going into a child's system every month, every month, and sometimes you have to look for strong painkillers. It's not Panadol, you know, because she's rolling on the floor. And for you to make her understand what is happening, why do I have so much pain? Why will I live like this for the rest of my life? So there's torment also psychologically, Winnie. There's torment. The children go through a lot of torment because some of them begin it even in class 4. Grade 4.
We're seeing,
depending on their hormones.
Early onset
so how will you explain to them that this pain, at one point it will go? How long will they have it? Because you can't tell them once you get, because that's what we believe, once you get a baby,
the pain will go
away, then they will tell you in grade 5, can I have a baby now? Because this pain is too much.
And we have seen that, you know, when we're talking about, you know, cases of teenage pregnancies and all those things, we've had some girls say, you know what, I'd rather get pregnant so that I do not have to deal with this pain for 9 months. And especially for those girls who have like extremely painful menses. I mean, we are adults, but you still dread that time of the month because of the pain, you know, the discomfort,
some people
and everything
even
that
throw
comes.
Up, the weakness of the body.
You
know, they get so weak.
There's really so much.
Depending on how they are brought up. Okay, not brought up, let me say, the meals that they take. Some families are not really concerned about that.
That's true.
So they don't do anything to ensure that the blood lost or the process that the child is going through or a girl is going through is compensated by something else that will make them stronger.
I absolutely hear you. And of course, Neville, I can see you nodding in in agreement. I want to assume, and of course, just like we're saying, it goes beyond just having, you know, the what you need. Could be pads, could be tampons, could be menstrual cups, and all those things. But other than that, can we also talk about, first of all, sanitation? Because again, like we're saying, it's important. We need these girls, I mean, all women and girls, they need water, right? Because you need to shower, you need to make sure that you know, you're clean and all those things. There's also the education aspect of the same, awareness aspect of the same. So can you just talk about that menstrual management as a whole and why it's important for all of us? When we think about menses, we think about all this, you know, approaches or necessities, if I can call it that way.
Yes. Basically, first and foremost, maybe it might be important to point out For a country, for Kenya, the government decided to have a three-pronged approach to menstruation, simply because some of the approaches that we had before were not working. That is, they were more of product focused. So the government adopted this three-pronged approach, whereby as you undertake any menstrual hygiene management programming, it is important first and foremost to ensure that there is access to information way before even a girl starts her periods. And as Bishop has already pointed out, in the absence of this information, girls do not basically know what is happening to them. All of a sudden, you see blood coming out, something that no one has ever told you, and some of them always experience fear, shame, and also embarrassment, simply because of that. And at the same time, we give that pragmatic and logical information to ensure that we demystify some of the myths and the taboos that exist around this topic. Having traversed some of the counties on matters of menstrual hygiene management, you'll be surprised at the myths and the taboos that are out there simply because of these natural phenomena. For instance, when you're on your periods, you go to a vegetable garden, the whole vegetable garden will wait. When you're on your periods, you are not supposed to attend a burial because you'll bring more death to the family, and others. And all these still, we are perpetuating the myths and the taboos and also misconceptions. So that's why giving information and education on menstruation is very critical. And also something that you pointed out, the fact that girls do not know that the moment they have started their periods, they are capable of being mothers. Some of them engage in sex, but in the long run, when they get pregnant, they're actually not aware that this is something that can lead to pregnancy because they have gotten to that particular time. That's why information is very critical. Failure to which someone else will give them that information, which will not be the right information.
That's true.
Then secondly, we are also looking at, the second prong is looking at what options are out there to manage menstruation, whereby we are looking at what are some of the disposable and also reusable options that can be employed during this time of the month. And apart from that, we give information on the pros and the cons of these products so that girls and women are able to make informed choices. Then we also look at sanitation facilities as good enablers for menstrual practice. There should be access to water, access to private changing places where girls and women will feel that I'm able to go to this place and change my menstrual management material. And lastly, we are looking at matters of disposal. So on disposal, we are looking at what are some of the methods that we can approach that one will limit the environmental degradation, because nowadays when you move around, if there are two things that are really thrown anyhowly, sanitary pads and also diapers. So what is it that we can do? And basically, what the government has done is to approach it from a holistic manner. It is not one or the other. It comes as a package. So the moment you are going to give information, the most critical information is for girls to understand matters of puberty, growing up, and what are some of the changes that they're going to have while growing up. And while you are giving this information, it is critical to include men and boys in the discourse. Growing up in my school, I think that there are these sessions that girls used to have with teachers, and boys will be told to go and play. No one really cared whether, maybe according to my teachers, we were not growing up, so we were told to go and play. And girls would like take a vow of or rather silence, to a point when you ask them what is it that was being discussed, no one will tell you. And these are the same boys that you expect to support girls and even women in the future. I think it's very important that we include also men and boys in this discourse.
No, absolutely, and I hear you, because I think I've said this here. I remember when we were in primary school, we were separated, so the boys would go play, and then the girls tunaitwa mnaketishwa chini, you know, and have such conversations, and the boys would be curious. They would ask you, so what is it that they told you, and you were ashamed to even say this is what we were told. And I remember we were given, like, you know, a pack of sanitary towels, and we would hide them. So no one can see. And I hear you, Neville, because these are the same boys who will grow up to be men, and we expect them to understand that this is a natural phenomenon and you should support them. But then again, how are they going to support if they completely don't know that this is what is happening? All right. And you see, sometimes it's easy for us to assume that in this day and age, the information is there, people know, you know, there are books, there's the internet, you know, that people can also, you know, Google and get the information. But sometimes the information, you know, is not enough, number one, or is not the correct information. And Bishop, I want you to speak on church very quickly. I'm not too sure if you were due for a break, Jackson will tell me, but very quickly before that, churches, right? Because like we said, some places we approach this with taboo, do not talk about this and all those things. Is this also one of the things that is happening in churches, right? Yeah.
This is very important because there are churches that do not permit women to come to church when they are in those period days or menstrual days. And they tell them it is not clean. They will quote scriptures. You know, in the olden times or in the Old Testament, you're not permitted to come to church. And therefore, and many times they argue, you cannot be a pastor as a woman or a bishop, because those are the bases they use. If, you know, because you'll always have your periods.
That's true.
And when you come to the synagogue or you come to the church, you are considered unclean. But I think things are changing, and they're changing very fast, because here I am, I'm a bishop. And sometimes I will go to that pulpit when I'm having my periods. And I will still deliver, and I will still preach without realizing. One thing that I want to say, Winnie and Okwaro, is that I think this is an aspect of life that we should embrace beautifully. Because for you and I to be here, it means a woman, or him also, a woman somewhere missed their period. You know, a woman somewhere missed their period, because when you see your periods, it means you're not pregnant.
That's true.
You know? And for those who are sexually active, that is one time they are very happy, because they realize, oh, my periods are here, then I'm not pregnant. Yay, they're happy. But what I want to say is that we should embrace this part or aspect of life and make it a fact and enjoy it, because for you to be a woman, you have to see that blood. And for you to know you are growing well, you know, and you're maturing well, is when your periods come. And your parents would always ask, and especially now the parents of this time, they always follow up on their girls. There's some information out there.
Used to be
they find out. Children are also being taught early enough. And I want to say, yes, they are separated, because sometimes they will not be comfortable in class to discuss about their hygiene, the periods, and how they come, and how they will feel, and how they're supposed to dispose of the pads. So they're secluded for that matter. But when I tried to talk to my daughter, because when she was about 14, I thought it was important for me to talk to her, the youngest daughter. And I tried to tell her. She told me, Mom, I already know. We were told,
in school.
You know, start buying for me so that I start carrying, just in case I begin. Now, the saddest part is this. I've seen it even in church, is that parents are not ready to buy the sanitary towels for their children and keep them in the house as part of their shopping. And
we will discuss that after the break, in terms of like the question that we're asking people. So is it time that we change tax? Because again, we have been talking about this every single year when we are, again, marking, the world is marking the menstrual hygiene day. So is it time that then we change tactics when it comes to conversations and approaches, you know, as far as menstrual health is concerned, so that again, we see a better world. And we have this many girls out there, not miss classes, not miss school because course of their period. So keep sending your feedback on at NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on Twitter. We're taking a break. When we come back, of course, we'll discuss more on the solution. Stay with us. This is Your World.
My skin is my identity and deserves care made specially for me. New Nivea Radiant and Beauty Advanced Care with 5 oils and 5 vitamins helps reduce appearance of stretch marks in just 2 weeks for your shade of beautiful.
I am so excited to have joined MKU. The flexibility in the payment of fees makes education very affordable.
With over 165 fully accredited programs and the state-of-art learning facilities, you literally have the world in your hands in terms of career choice.
The learning is not only uninterrupted, but also supported through ICT. And within no time, you're done with your studies.
Join us and start your career journey.
Intake is in progress. Mount Kenya University, unlocking infinite possibilities. Mount
Kenya. One thing that I feel like is really not appreciated as much is the forehead.
You're 20. You're about 20, bro. Ukiweka finger zako hivi, niko 6.
Easy. Sasa tulieka hapa because we don't know this suitcase, this suitcase. Monski is a hoarder.
This I came with the other day from States. Shiro's Ebugoja Shiro's fast flu shot.
Monkey. How dare you?
Who's the other one? Talk up, boy. Huku mtaani kwetu kuna matumbili mob, tumbili twingi.
Love is making me wise.
Cascadia Apartments at Two Rivers Development in Nairobi with a Madaraka offer till 30th June 2023. Price start from 9.2 million. Call us today on 0742 342 722 or text Cascadia to 22365.
Okay, welcome back. Of course, we're still having conversations even during the break. But welcome back. Let us do with us. The show is Your World. And of course, today we're having a very serious conversation that we were saying we should have it every single day. And this is as far as menses is concerned, all right? And of course, like we said, we all know that every 28th day, the world actually marks Menstrual Hygiene Day, and this is why, all right, it's because menstrual cycles average 28 days in a length, and people menstruate on average of 5 days, and that is why we have May 28th, all right, as the World Menstrual Hygiene Day. And of course, like we're saying this year, the message is all about we are committed, and that is to make sure that making menstruation a normal fact of life by the year 2030. So then again, what are some of the steps that we need to take to make sure that come 2030, which is not too far off, all right, or far along from today, that we achieve this goal, all right? What are some of the maybe ways or gaps that have been identified? Should we change tactic? Because that is the question that we're asking you today, because this is not the first time we're talking about menses, right? But at the same time, we're still seeing more than 50% of women, and girls in Kenya who cannot afford sanitary towels. So the big question is, should we change tact in terms of conversation and approaches as far as menstrual health is concerned, and so that we make sure that we get to that goal by 2030. So like we said, keep sending your tweets and of course your feedback on our socials. We'll be going through them before we end the conversation, but of course we have Neville Okwaru, who's here to also help us, very, very passionate about menstrual hygiene and health, and of course as well as Bishop Grace Dalizu as well, a mental health champion, just helping us understand from their perspective, because they are actively on the ground talking to girls, distributing sanitary towels, and just get to understand what are some of the challenges that they go through. So Bishop, very quickly, someone might argue and say, but see, the government is distributing sanitary towels to schools, right? Yeah. The question is it enough? Because from what we know is that, of course, they will get packs, like these girls will get single packs of sanitary towels, which are like eight, right, in the pack. So the question is this enough?
First and foremost, we want to say that you cannot predict how heavy the periods will be. Yeah. Sometimes they are very heavy, and a child will be required to use even 3 packs.
More than,
packets, 3 packets, and you find that if they are given 1 packet, I don't know how they give or the government gives. I've not had that information very well. Don't know whether they give 1 packet for a term and expect the parents to do the rest. That
but
is
every single month. So, so the school will give the girl every single month. They have
1 packet.
Yes,
yeah.
1 packet for
every month. What we need to consider is that sometimes it is not predictive, because sometimes you'll find that there are heavy periods and a child has to use maybe 2 packets or in a day change 3 times, and that should be the way, so that they don't have any infection.
Yes.
Yeah, because sometimes they get infections. Yeah. If they don't change the pads as regularly as they are required, and remember, some of them will not clean up because there's no even that facility for them to clean up. All they do is change and use another pad without cleaning up, or wipe themselves with a tissue, which is not clean enough. So they need to change as often as possible. That is 3 times maybe during the day, and in the night twice. How many are those? 5.
That's
so 1 packet
in 1 day
is already gone.
True.
It's already gone. But what I want to say, you'll allow me to mention this. Maybe I should have said it in the conclusion. There's something Senator Gloria is doing.
Yes. I mean, she got a lot of backlash. Some people supported her, others, like
initially it looked like really, it was absurd.
Yeah.
But there's a message that is so strong. She was passing across. Yeah. And as much as I did not know her personally, up to the day that she was launching the bank, the sanitary
which was just
pad bank.
This weekend,
that is Saturday. Yeah. That's when I met her face to face. But all along, I felt very attracted to what she was doing. I felt very committed to it, and I wanted to partner with her because I'm also doing it. I'm doing that back in Kajiado, where we have our church, and I like that because she has realized that people are ignoring this whole thing. People don't want to budget for it. The government must put a heavy budget for it. Just that, like the way they have put a budget for the ARVs, to make sure that people survive. The same way, this should be, budgeted for in a big way, in a passionate way, because if they don't, our girls will stay away from school.
Yeah.
Because even the parents, because of the economic hardship, they may not do enough. They may not do enough.
Yeah.
When they buy one, they have really tried, because it's not easy.
And I mean, it's good to it's a good step, at least, to make sure that this girl gets at least a pack every single month. But then again, what we have seen is that in some communities, there are 2 girls, there are 3 girls, there are 4 girls, right, in a household.
Yes.
And those are reports, I think sometime last year or the year before, where they said, so this girl will take this 1 pad right? 1 pack of pads, and they will take it home and even share with the sisters or sometimes with the mother. Because there's no money to buy the sanitary towels. And neighbors as well. So I completely hear you when you say, yes, it's a good step, but then again, we really need to see, we need to
do more, and we need to bring on board more stakeholders. Absolutely. The government cannot do enough because they have other responsibilities. So there are other people like where Okwaro is, organizations that should come in, the churches should come in, 100%, you know, to do that, so that it's a big thing. And what do we do to it? We should amplify, you know, talk about it all the time, all the time. It should not be a story that is only said once in a year, May 28th. But it should be a story that is there. There should be that menstrual hygiene day.
Every month.
Every month.
I think so too.
In every organization, in schools, in churches, in mosques, in temples, you know, Hindu temples, and even in the marketplaces. And many legislators should come on board, and other people, social workers.
I hear you. And someone was just saying, I think it's also time that churches also have a budget for the same, right?
No, we have.
Right? And it's a good thing.
We have.
It's
like,
a good thing
for
to
me,
support.
I've been doing it. I've been supporting girls. This coming weekend, I'm going to a school called Greenland in Kiserian. And there will be about 5 schools meeting in one place. And we are going to buy sanitary towels for the girls.
I'd like that. All right, Okwaro, we have made progress as a country. I know there was a bill, you know, in Parliament to make sure that menstrual products are not taxed, or at least have, you know, subsidies for the same. So the big question is this enough? And is it time that maybe we change tactics, maybe we change approaches, you know, so that we have as many women and girls, you know, have access. And like we said, you know, access does not mean to just sanitary towels alone. You know, there's so many other things that are, you know, involved. And of course, like we said, we should have adequate water, adequate supply of clean water, amongst other things. So yeah, is it enough? What are some of the things that maybe we need to change that to make sure that this is more of a reality and we don't have to wait until 2030?
Actually, there's a lot that needs to happen. One of the things that maybe I can mention is Kenya has become a trailblazer when it comes to matters of menstrual health and hygiene. In 2004, Kenya was the first country to do away with VAT on sanitary pads that are imported into the country. And in 2011, we did away with excise duty, import duty of 25% on raw materials that are used to make sanitary pads. And still, Finance Bill of 2016 still did away with, just for the purposes of leveling this, 2011, we did away with import duty of 25% on these pads that come into the country. Finance Bill 2016, we decided to do away with VAT and also import duty for raw materials that are imported into the country. But it's very important for me also to note that most of the sanitary pads that come into the country and also the raw materials are paid in dollars. So the moment the price of dollar increases, automatically the price of most of the menstrual products will also increase. And to your next question, if it's time for us to change the approach, I believe yes. The President assented to the Basic Education Amendment Act of 2017. And this was supposed to ensure that it's anchored into law that you are going to provide sanitary pads to learners in public primary schools. And also it asks that the ministry in charge of that distribution should ensure there are mechanisms for disposal of the same. So one of the things that happen is we are distributing pads, yes, but also at the same time, we are not dealing with the waste, and it's tons and tons of waste. And secondly, for us as the Western Kenya Sanitation Project, we are a USAID funded project. And what we want to do is to look at what if we were to strengthen the market for the uptake of both sanitation and also menstrual hygiene products and services. So we are keenly working with manufacturers, distributors, suppliers, and also retailers to understand what are some of the bottlenecks that are making them not to engage in menstrual hygiene as a business, or even to have more revenue when it comes to matters of menstrual hygiene management. And these, then after understanding this, we are able to look at, do we need to talk to national or county governments, and what are some of the barriers that we need to ensure that we've dealt with. And secondly, we are looking at accessibility and availability of the menstrual pads is one thing. By any chance, if by any chance you're on your periods and you are going to the shop, you should get the product that you prefer to use, not the product that is readily available. Meaning that I may prefer to use a reusable sanitary pad, but what I'll get is a disposable pad. So how do we then ensure that these products are accessible and also available, but also at the same time, affordability is an issue. To a point, no one should be should get to a point of making a decision: do I buy food or I buy my menstrual management material of choice? So we are very keen on also dealing with matters of cost, simply because having tried some of the traditional approaches, including distribution, it's eventually not sustainable. So we are looking at then how do we strengthen the market so that each and everything is there for these particular people who menstruate, and also at the same time, how do we ensure that users get the products that they prefer.
Okay, so then what will it take for us to get there? Because honestly, we don't have to wait until 2030, you know, for us to say now we have achieved this goal. No, the sooner the better, right? So what is it, you know, in your view, what is it that it will take for us to get there and get there as soon as possible?
I think one of the things that we need to do is to look at the policy that was launched in May 2020. It was heralded globally as a very progressive policy, but its implementation has been quite poor. To a point, I know 2 countries that are using our policy to implement the MHM program, and it's working for them. And I don't understand why it cannot work for us as Kenya. And secondly, we need resources also to implement this particular policy. Looking at some of the legislation, what is it? And that's why I'm happy about what Senator Gloria is going to do, introducing a bill that will purely be speaking about menstruation, so that we are able to address some of these challenges. When you look at even the menstrual waste actors, they are facing a challenge when it comes to matters of disposal of menstrual waste. Some of the equipment that they use are so highly tasked to a point that they cannot make any headway. Then also classification of menstrual waste, menstrual products should be improved. A menstrual cup is not classified in Kenya as a menstrual management product, but rather as a medical device. Based on that, it cannot even enjoy the tax rebates that the other products, disposable products, enjoy. So it's basically looking at our tax regimen. It's basically looking at how do we ensure that we've supported private sector more, and also ensure that we've involved private sector in each and everything, not just the usual things that we do during May 28th. That is when we get private sector to come in so that they're able to distribute parts. But how can we have something sustainable that we are able to have a win-win situation for everyone?
I see that. I see that. Thanks, Neville. And of course, Bishop Grace, that is more on the, management policies, government, county governments, private sector also coming, together to make sure that we make this a reality and as soon as possible, right? But from a community point of view, from, the religious point of view, what is it that, again, you think in your view would work and we need to do now to make sure that, again, we achieve this, Before even 2020, I'm going to be ambitious. 2030. Before 2030, before 2025.
Because so much would have happened that time. I want to say I've enjoyed what Okwaro is saying, and can see he's well informed on what should be happening and what should be going on. But us at the grassroots, we are not seeing so much happening. And we don't know. You know, you just hear at the policy level, this is what is being done. And of course, Senator Gloria wants to introduce a bill, which is very, very important.
It's important, yeah.
But for us at the community level, we are dealing with what we can do day by day.
All right.
And I'm very, very grateful because you said a girl should not just, or a woman should not just use what is accessible, but what is preferred by them.
That's true.
And what we are looking at, and I've been looking at it critically, and I know it's happening already, is whether the reusable sanitary pads are sustainable.
Yeah.
But you know, that also is pegged so much on sanitation.
No, yes.
Is there water?
Availability of
is
water.
Is this girl informed, well informed, so that there is no infection? Because we could be bringing about another issue that is bigger.
Trying to solve another one, but we bring another bigger
I went
issue.
to a place around Suswa, and youths had gathered to pray and do other activities, church activities. And what met my eyes is that sanitary towels were littered everywhere. And I was just wondering, what kind of information should we give to the girls? Should they bury, you know, dig and put this sanitary towel in the ground? Because when you look at our toilets, they cannot accommodate a pad if it's not a pit latrine.
Yeah.
And when I was going to school, in high school and in primary, I happened to be in a boarding school, and we had the sanitary, we had the pit latrines aside, and we could dispose our pads there, because there was nothing like rental kit. What do they put? There are certain
the kits,
the kits that are in the toilets. So I was wondering what can be done about that, because there is so much waste, and the waste is right in our eyes. Could it cause a health hazard? Because by so doing...
And not even just health, but also environmental.
Environmental degradation.
Yes.
So those are some of the things that should be addressed, because if we don't have the pit latrines in some places, then the toilets are blocked. So we have the blockages of the, you know, the sewer lines and so on, and it becomes a whole hazard. And if you have, let's say, 4 women in a house in 1 month, and they dispose those pads in the toilet, flushing, then you have a problem. So what we need to look at and talk about, even in churches.
Very quickly, can I take that as your parting shot?
Okay, and maybe Okwaro will advise. Where do we put these pads in our local, you know, setups? Because we'll talk so much about disposal, we should do this, we should do that, and sometimes it is a talk that never gets to the ground. That's true. So we need to know what we need to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. And of course, that's what Neville was talking about in terms of don't just give information about, you know, menses. You'll have your menses every single month. This is what it looks like and all those things. But also talk about disposable, right? Talk about, you know, safe ways, you know, to dispose all those things. All right. And it's good to hear what you're doing, you know, at the grassroots, helping, you know, women and girls as well, as far as menstruation is concerned. So thank you so much for that. Keep doing the good job. And Neville, let's hear from you. You know, as we finish this whole conversation in terms of just, and especially for male involvement, because I'm really, really happy that you're actively talking about this, championing for this, and making sure that there's the correct information out there. And this is, again, it cuts across. But again, male involvement, would you speak on the same very quickly as we end the conversation?
Recently, we conducted a study in the 8 counties that we work in, in Western Kenya. And one of the things that was so glaring is that men are not involved when it comes to matters of menstrual hygiene management. And we are going to launch the study during the National Menstrual Hygiene Management, National Menstrual Hygiene Celebrations that will be held in Busia County on Tuesday, that is tomorrow, at Busia Polytechnic. And in a failure to really involve men in this discourse will also mean that one segment of the population does not understand what is happening. And you might think that menstruation is the only challenge. Speak to boys and you'll understand the challenges that they go through when it comes to wet dreams, because no one really understands, rather very few of them understand the process of growing up and what is happening to them. So it's very much critical that we have to have this discourse continuously. On the issue that has been raised by Bishop, in the same study, we found out that most women reported that, or almost 95% of them reported that they throw their sanitary pads inside the pit latrine, which is not recommended because it feels faster, and also at the same time, it also adds to the burden of the sanitation systems. So basically, we are looking at a big conundrum of challenges that will require stakeholder involvement when it comes to addressing matters of menstrual hygiene management. And we've started off on a journey that we are involving everyone, everywhere, be it chiefs, be it assistant chiefs, men within the community, border, and others. So that we look at, if this is going to succeed in Western Kenya, is it possible that we can replicate it elsewhere? And maybe just lastly, as I close, the most critical aspect is for us to move discussions of MHM from the boardrooms where we've been holding them right to the community level, because at the community, no one cares whether you have a policy or not, but rather how are you going to address some of the menstrual challenges that they have.
I hear you. I hear you. Thank you very much, Neville. And of course, we're just going to conclude the show on that note, like more of these conversations to the community. And of course, I hope that, again, at the end of the day, we'll all have the correct information as far as then what to do, really. And I really like the fact that, Bishop Gracie asked that question, where do we dispose them? Because pit latrines, like Okoro is saying, it gets filled up. So then, what happens? And for those ones who are in the urban settings, most of them throw them in the, the trash bags in the kitchen, and that's not safe as well. So where do we throw those things? All right. Very good way to end the conversation. Neville Okwaro, MHM lead at USAID Western Kenya Sanitation Project, as well as Bishop Grace Dalizu, menstrual health champion. Thank you so much for coming by this morning. Such insightful conversations, and of course, we hope that this continues as well throughout the day, every single day, so that we don't just talk about menstruation only, on a given day in a certain month, and that is on May 28th. All right. So have yourselves a lovely day ahead, and I'll see you tomorrow morning, same time, same place, right here on Your World. But until then, stay safe and God bless. Goodbye for now. Thank you. But that was really good.